Hi everyone, it's Heidi from Flutter by Heidi. I'm Heidi Smith, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the United Kingdom. And today I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful ornament with the lovely brightly gleaming paper, which is a returning favourite. So this is one of the first times that Stampin' Up! Have really done this, which is to bring back something that was so popular last year. So this is specialty designer paper. So on the one side it's foiled, and on the reverse it isn't. But as you can see here, you've got gorgeous copper foiling and then some sort of more generic designs on the back. So that's the lovely stars that I've used with this sort of geometric pattern. Gorgeous ornaments, perfect to go with the brightly gleaming Christmas gleaming stamp set. This one here, which I'll be using to show you how to use that shortly. This one again is quite a more geometric pattern, but lovely night of navy and pretty peacock colours in there. And you can see on the reverse, this one is beautiful, pretty peacock with some gorgeous swirls, and then sort of holly images. And then the last one is this lovely mossy meadow on the one side, and then small stars on the other side. So gorgeous paper, but because it's so lovely, don't want to use too much. So this uses just just under 3 centimetre strips to create the effect of the bauble. And I think that's rather nice because you've got the contrast then between the sort of striped panels and the ones. Now I haven't filled this with anything, but you could. I have made it so that it opens at the top, so you could actually make that as a sort of a gift box if you wanted to. Pop it with sweets, table favour, all sorts of options. So to start off with, then we're going to need a piece of cardstock. The card is 21 by 25. Now those of you who follow me will see the sort of similarities really here with the vellum bauble that I did, oh gosh, some years ago now. So I'll pop the link to that in my in the bottom as well. So this is 21 by 25 centimetres. As usual, I'll put inches on my blog for you if that's what you prefer to work in. Then we're going to score on this long edge at 3 centimetres, every 3 centimetres basically. So 3, I flip that around now, 6, at 9, at 12, 15, 18, 21 and 24. Then turn it onto the short edge, and you're going to score this at 3 and then 13. Like so. And then at 18 centimetres. Okay, now we will need our trimmer potentially in a moment, depending on how you want to create your bauble, but I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So grab your bone folder. Really good if you can reinforce these creases at this point. It will just help you when you come to do your extra scoring. So I'm just folding these, reinforcing them, and then the same on the top and the bottom. Okay, last one. So this is the top section, the slightly bigger section. This is going to be the bottom section, and what we're now going to do is actually cut up these tabs. And you're just cutting to the first score line on each, like so. And you're going to cut away that little tab on the end, and do the same on the other side. And I'm going to get you to cut away the bits that we need to do first, because that just makes it bit easier to mark the centres of the panels that you're going to be scoring. And so once you've done that, pop it down with your taller section on the top, and you're going to cut away alternate squares. So that's with the short bit on the opposite end. So just come in and you're going to cut those away. Once you've done the first one, you'll find it much easier to spot which ones you've got to cut. Okay, so this one here, I find it easier to fold the tabs down. And then finally this end one. And then repeat that at the bottom. So and then I'm going to come in with on this dark card a white gel pen just to show you what I'm doing in terms of the marking. So you should now have a piece that looks like this. Now, next thing to do is grab your ruler, and then as I say, you can mark it whichever way you like. You can pop this in your trimmer to mark it if you want. If you're going to do that, you're going to mark at 4.5, at 10.5, at 16.5 and 22.5, both the top and the bottom. Alternatively, come in with your ruler and just mark the midpoint. So that's 1.5 centimetres on each of those. Up to you entirely which works better for you. I'm just sort of showing you, trying to show you that's where you're going to be scoring to, and sometimes having a little mark rather than just a score bit, which I've done in the past, might make it a little bit easier for you to see where you're scoring to. As long as you mark the midpoint in whatever way works for you, you'll be fine. Then I'm going to keep with my ruler. I'm then going to come in with my scoring tool. Obviously this is the multi-purpose one that Stampin' Up sell, which is really useful because you've got a narrow ball head and a wider one. So I'm using the narrower one here. I'm using a ruler that's got a steel insert, just make it easier. And I'm coming from the score line up to my point. Now I find this works better if you do it on a hard surface. If you do it on a Stampin' Pierce mat, I checked this out. The card, you don't get quite such a strong score, so it just makes it a little bit more difficult when you come to do your folding. So on each one, I'm just scoring from that mark that we've made down to that score line. So I've got a long section that's scored here, and then I'm going to do exactly the same on the bottom. So I'm just coming along with my ruler and marking alternate ones. And I say, I just find that doing it on a hard surface, unlike stamping, where I'd be sort of photopolymer, I'd be recommending you Pierce mat. On this instance, I really want to get a good score line because I'm working with cardstock. Now, the next thing we're going to do is actually a couple of things we're going to do actually. I'm going to first of all cut a piece of post-it note. I'm going to use that to punch my my centres of things. So we just want a piece of post-it note that is 3 by 3 centimetres. So I'm going to pop that to one side. I want that in a moment. Then I'm going to cut my strips of paper. So to get a really neat border, I'm just going to cut 2 strips at full length of DSP at 2.8 centimetres. And this is where I say it's really economical to use because you're only using 2 sets. And then I'm going to cut 4 at 9.8. Well, I'll get 3 out of this strip. Like so, so just 9.8 centimetres. So I've got 3 of those. I'm going to cut my 4th one off the second strip. And then I'm going to cut 4 pieces which are 4.8. So as I said, you know, you could get loads of baubles if you wanted to decorate your table or your Christmas tree, but with these papers they work so well together. You could mix and match with the colours. You know, the Night of Navy and the Pretty Peacock work so well together. Okay, so there's our other 4 pieces. So while our card is flat, our ornament, we're going to come in and add these pieces of designer series paper. So I'm just using some Tombow. I find the wet glue generally works better, and you're just going to add each of those pieces to the bottom section, the smaller pieces. And if you want them to adhere really well, so you only need a small amount of glue, but I'm sort of putting it kind of all over the back of each of the pieces. Move that up so you can see it a little bit better. And then I'm going to come in and just burnish with my bone folder over the top to get a really good layer of adhesive sort of spread out underneath each. You don't want your paper peeling off. And I've used 2 strips because we've got that score line, and what you don't want to do is I decided I didn't want to risk that, you know, either scoring through my DSP or having a kind of a crack in the DSP in that middle bit, or it lifting up. As soon as you're adding a bend into it, you know, in this instance. So here we go, you can see that's really coming together now. And the next thing we're going to be doing, once you've put your last piece on, as I said, I'm going to come over and give it a rub with my bone folder. So just kind of give those a good press down, and then we're going to do some hole punching. So with this, with the 3x3, you're just going to mark the centre point, like so, and hole punch. And this is our handheld hole punch. No longer available, but there are, you know, others that are. And you're going to use this little post-it note just to punch holes in the top section only. So you're only going to do the top one, and you're going to just move that post-it along on each one and punch just the centre. And then you're also going to do the same on one of your little squares that you've cut away as well. Okay. And the next bit is where we reinforce our, making that look more difficult than it is. So all I'm doing is just adding that to the top, lining it up with my punch and punching through. Okay. Next, we're going to fold and reinforce these creases. So fold them once on the score line and then back on themselves. So away from the score line and back on itself, and repeat all the way along. So once and back on it. And this just helps, it will help it fold in as well. And as I say, if you've scored well on a hard surface, you'll find these do work really well, and just have come together. Just make sure you're creasing right down into that score line as well. So you can see those are starting to form really nicely. Actually on this one I'm finding they're working just as well by folding straight away on the kind of a valley fold. So in fact, you might be able to save yourself a little bit of time. So as long as you reinforce those creases, and be gentle. If it's not working, you know, don't, just make sure you do it very gently so that you get those nice strong creases. You don't want it to be, you want it to be nice and straight. Okay. And then last couple of creases, and those little white gel pen marks you're not going to notice because they're actually going to be on the inside of these creases as well. So once you've creased that, then all that remains is for us to pop it all together. So I'm going to just fold this over and add some Stampin' Seal Plus to the top and bottom sections of this. So just fold that over, line it up. Okay. Then we're going to do the same with Stampin' Seal on the bottom. So just to start off with, I'm adding a couple of strips, and I'm going to do the opposites. So I'm just going to pop opposite to opposite, add some more glue to add that third one, and at this point you're going to fold in that side there, so hopefully you can see that, and just keep it nice and flush. And our last one, again, fold in nice and flush and give it a good press. Pop it on the bottom. You'll see it's all starting to come together. So all that's left to do, I'm using some ribbon from my boho indigo medley, and I'm just cutting a sort of a, oh, I've got a join in that piece, don't want to use that bit. So work out what you want your loop to be like. If you want a loop, fold that in half, and although the hole's quite small, you just need to feed that through. Add some Stampin' Seal to hold that ribbon in place, and I'm just going to fold in any extra bits. One there and one there. Just trim as you need to, and then it's just a case of feeding that through. And again, I'm doing exactly the same, so do one side and do the opposite. So line that up. Because they're all lined up, you should get a nice snug fit. Third one. Make it look difficult, Heidi. Obviously, you could use a slimmer ribbon if you wanted to. I quite like the thicker ribbon because it kind of holds it all in place as well. And then there we have a pretty bauble gift box, or hanging ornament, whatever you prefer to use it for, ready for Christmas, using the gorgeous brightly gleaming designer series paper. If you'd like to make some of these, pop along to my blog, purchase the products, and that's at flutterbyheidi.co.uk, or my Stampin' Up shop direct at heidismith.stampinup.net. Come back and see me again soon. I'd love it if you chose me as your demonstrator. And please do subscribe to my YouTube channel and my blog to find out when I post further ideas. Thanks for watching. Bye.